So, can you explain how you first thought the documentary after you completed the award-winning Wolf?
I mean, I wanted to do something to keep kind of along the lines of canines and dogs and things. And I was on holiday in Scotland, and we went up to a sled dog centre in Aviemore, and it was one of the first times I actually seen a Siberian Husky, for real. And, I'd seen photographs and things, but this was the first time I got to interact with them, and we got to see the equipment, the sleds, and you had someone there who has done it in the Alps and things, and it was really interesting. And I just thought it'd be nice to do something about the sport in this country. So that's where it kind of started from.
Okay, how did you begin your research? Did you talk to friends or did you read books? Can you explain?
Research came from loads of sources. I mean, I've got friends who do have Huskies. They own their own Huskies, or there's one I know in Essex, and he does do racing part-time. So he was helpful in first contacting to get some ideas of where the races were held and some websites for all the different organisations. And there were different books I was reading, and there were documentaries, and then even a couple of films and things, just to see what kind of attitude there is towards the sport. And generally, in a lot of the documentaries, a lot of them are set in places like Alaska and Canada, where the sport's a bit more extreme because you've got to camp out in the cold and everything. But yeah, research was pretty thorough because there was a lot of things I had to find out.
And what was the Scotland's one called?
This one in Scotland was at Drumlanrig Castle, and it was basically it was the final of the Scottish Siberian Sled Dog Rally. And there was the 3 British world champions there who had won in Belgium that year. So they'd all come back from December, all world champions, and so that was quite good to meet them, because of course it proves in a way that we have really rose up in the sport.
When it comes to dryland, we really do lead the world, and people are looking at us now to help take it forward.
Were you surprised by the initial amount of interest, or were you disappointed?
No, I think it's interesting because the sport itself, there's a bit of debate within the people who run and do the sport, whether they'd like to see more publicity or keep it quite private. Because at the moment, there's loads of dog sled rallies held in forests and woodland trails all over the country, but people don't know about it, so they don't see it. And some people like it, some of the people who race them like it that way, and others would like to see a bit more publicity or maybe even corporate involvement for funding and sponsoring.
How did you go about editing your piece?
Well, to start with, I thought to do it in a style that was slightly different from straightforward. Instead of having, like with the Wolf documentary, we have a voiceover that's narrative. For this, it was more of people's experiences and what the feel of the sport is like. Because with this documentary, I'm trying to transport people into this world and show them what the sport is like. And the best way to do that is to have people first-hand recalling what it's like. So all the documentary is told through the interviews with the mushers.
Did you find it difficult to be able to display all the information that you wanted to within the 10-minute bracket?
Yeah, it is very difficult. You've got 10 minutes and you're trying to explain all sorts of things, because when people will be watching this, there'll be people who are thinking all sorts of different questions, like, why does the Husky do that, or why did people do that, or why are they shouting this, or why are they doing that? And there's so many things. You're trying to explain to the audience what these are, what the rules are, and how it works, and also explain the experiences that people are having at the same time. So you've got this. You're trying to say what's that, and what relevance it has, and then you're also trying to give people's experiences. And there were things that I would like to have put in about the dogs themselves, the different types of breed, and you've got things like that, the history of the breed and things that had to be cut out. You've got other things that are kept in, of course, like the directions and the commands. And it's very hard to try and choose things, because there were things that stayed in some cuts and then they got removed in later cuts that I would have liked to have kept, but because of the time limit, they had to be removed.
Would you like to talk about, your evaluating your piece?
Well, I guess for this documentary, it's come forward from other ones I've done because it's all my own material. It's all filmed myself this time. Other things I've worked on, we've had archive footage and things that are not our own, so there's always the problem of entering into festivals and things where you can't do it because of the copyright issues. So in a way I think that's a big improvement for me, because I've managed to now combine everything together. And then if there were things I could do differently, I'd probably want to try and do it with more people, because the difficulty with this project was I was doing it literally on my own, me holding a camera, going all over the country, filming the races and talking to people. And if there was more chance to have more people, I guess you could get different angles and different shots and have more coverage of the race in general, which would have been nice. And also perhaps maybe make it a bit longer, but I've got to keep in line with 10 minutes, but if I could redo it, maybe I'd make it slightly longer so it had more of the information.
What was the most memorable thing from the project?
The most memorable thing I probably remember was actually when I got to try and ride the rig for myself. You see them running past and it might not seem as fast, but when you stand on the rig and they run, you feel like you're going much faster, and I think I almost fell off when they started running, because the jolt at the start was quite surprising. And then being on there and watching them run and run and run and run for those miles, you really do appreciate their power really and what they do.